Hello everyone, my name's Ray, and this is Sam, Scott. Glad to be here today. Do you want to do some intro?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Sam. My company Fabric Labs is right now sponsoring a contest at the Fashion Institute of Technology, a few blocks away, for the students to build, most of them, their first NFT projects. And we're following it up with a charity auction with one piece from each student. It's kind of my passion project focus right now. Been in the space for a while. Interested in decentralized identity. It's not at all what I thought I was going to talk about, but we'll make it work. And I'm a Philly guy just like Scott.
Hey guys, Scott Mandel here. I'm a father. I'm based in Philadelphia. I'm a graduate of Michigan State. All of those are parts of my identity. I currently am the founder of Complex Labs, where we make it easy to mint and manage dynamic NFTs. Our ultimate objective is to create a consumer identity protocol with that.
I like what you did there, complex labs,
Yeah.
making it simple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite tricky actually.
Good. So I'm Ray. I'm the investor for 7X Venture. So we're the early investor for our Wave, Dodo, and Near Protocol, etc. And also I'm a contributor for DBDAO. This is a Web3 database. So I'm also an independent researcher and Web3 enthusiasm. Yeah, glad to be here. So I guess we can start the topic today. So we're gonna talking about the future of decentralized identity. So first question, what is decentralized identity and why we need it?
So decentralized identity. Who are you? We live more and more of our lives online, in the digital world. We're on Zoom calls, we're sending emails, we're moving our way into the metaverse. And how do we identify ourselves? How do we determine who we are? And something I'd like to get into as we see the rise of AI. How do we determine that people are people and people aren't a machine? All of these things are questions. I think for the talk today, we're probably going to raise more questions than we have answers,
exactly.
but that's okay because these conversations are important to be having right now. Brainstorming, coming up with ideas, thinking of the thing nobody else has thought of yet, and trying to figure out how we're going to make this happen because it's up to us to make sure that there is an option for a decentralized identity, something that you own that isn't given to you by a centralized entity, which is most likely a government that's going to want to own and control your data. That's not what Web3 is about. Web3 is about read, write, and own. And your decentralized identity can be a big part of how you own your online self.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to add some context to identity itself. I mean, when we think of identity, we think of our driver's license, our passport, but there's actually quite a lot of verticals when it comes to identity. You have your government issued identity, you have your health identity, you have your professional or your education identity. All of these different pieces of these different verticals are who you are. As you notice, I started the talk off by saying, I'm a father. I graduated Michigan State. I reside in Philadelphia. All these are data points that represent who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say, I feel like the point of decentralized identity is that we can own the ownership of your own data. So for example, the Twitter can easily delete what you said or even your existence, right? So if they ban you, and also your Twitter, your content, and all your contact can never be transferred to other platform. So basically, if Twitter died someday, we will all die, like your existence, right? So yeah, I feel like just like Scott said, it's not really just about like social media. It's also about like all the all the physical like identity government issue stuff. So we are kind of stepping into it. And I personally, my imagination of the future decentralized identity is that we can define our self as a domain, and we will have like a main identity, but also have a lot of sub-scenario identity. So for like different purpose. And also we have like, in case Web3, we have like wallet, and then our wallet can carry all the credentials throughout all the chains and different platform. And yeah, today we're gonna focusing on what is the credentials are. So I think nowadays we see two type of credentials. One is a variable credential with ZKPs. One is like soulbound token. Yeah. So do you guys wanna talk about like something?
Yeah, I just wanted to expand a little bit on that and just talk about the ownership of data. And we all give it away all day, every day. You buy something on Amazon, you do a Google search, you send an email, you talk within 50 feet of your phone, your data is going out there. It's being sold, it's being monetized. One of my favorite and most terrifying stories is Ford Motor Company CEO last year announced that they will make more money off of their customers' data than they do off of selling automobiles. Ford, the original car, the Model T, they sell cars and they're making more money off of your data than they are off of their so-called core business. We all talk about how in Web3 we want to own our data and we want to determine who gets to. We can determine how we monetize it, but it's only if we take the reins and do it in a decentralized way and find solutions that are easy to use and user friendly, and not allow the Fords and the Amazons and the Googles and the Apples to do it for us when they're just basically going to take what they're doing in Web 2 and put Web 3 technology behind it. So we have a kind of a small window where we can come up with these solutions and do them the right way, do them in a Web 3 way, and kind of preempt those things, governments as well.
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head here. So for decentralized identity, you have basically we have two tools in our arsenal. We have soulbound tokens and we have verifiable credentials. A soulbound token is similar to an NFT, but it's non-transferable, it's valueless, it's once it's in your wallet, it's there. A verifiable credential is very different in the sense that there's an issuing authority. It can be transferred with some verification from the protocol. And with what you just said, we do have a limited window, because with verifiable credentials, the most important thing is the issuing authority. And I'll give you an example. If I have a verifiable credential that says that I have a high credit score, well, that's only valuable if the issuing authority has some type of authority on that particular issue. If it's a bank, then that verifiable credential is worth something. If it's my brother, it's probably not worth anything, right? So verifiable credentials and the incumbents who have all this data are uniquely positioned to actually take the lead when it comes to identity. So we have a very limited window in order to establish some type of framework in order to at least carve out niches of our identity that we can own.
Yeah, that's really well said. And there's so many layers to it, and that's why one of the first things I said was we're probably going to raise more questions than we have answers for, because it's very complex. See? Name drop. There you go. It's incredibly complex because there are so many pieces, and how do you segment your data? So if you go to this website, Ray brought up a great point about Twitter and owning your tweets. Just Facebook, you put a picture on Facebook, you don't own that anymore. Facebook owns it. It's out there forever. Well, imagine a world where you bring your social media identity with you and everything's saved and associated with your token. So at that point, companies have to cater to you. They have to continue to offer a superior quality product. Otherwise, you'll just take your toys and go somewhere else. It's a great opportunity to force innovation in companies, and not only that, but I would love to live in a world where we can add another data point that people can decide when they're making a purchase. Right now, for the history, it's been quality and price. Is it good quality? Does it achieve what I wanted to achieve, and how much does it cost? What if we could add values to that? What if we could add a quality product here and a quality product there. Which one of these companies more aligns with my values? Which is more socially conscious? If I don't like the CEO and he's doing some creepy stuff, I'll move somewhere else. And like I said, then the companies have to fight for you. They don't just, everybody uses Facebook because that's where all your old pictures are, and that's where you find out what everybody's birthday is. Well, if all that information is portable, then you could pick up and leave if you wanted. And they're going to fight us. They're going to fight us hard because it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, your data that's out there, and they don't want to give it up. So we're going to have to fight for it. But I think having these kinds of conversations and coming up with valuable solutions, Web3 can definitely do it.
I'm going to piggyback off of that real quick.
Saddle up, partner.
Yeah. So, I don't know if many of you are aware, but cookies are being depreciated. Internet cookies are going to be depreciated over the next 12 months, right? So the idea of identity and the data that's available for you and readily accessible by brands, that's going to change in a yet to be determined way. I envision a world where I can take my identity to a website, provide them with some level of data in exchange for something. I'm going to change that relationship. I will give you access to my data. In exchange, I'm going to get something free. I'm going to get content, whatever it is. And if you cease to hold up your end of the bargain, well, then I can actually revoke the rights to that data through a verifiable credential. Now you no longer have access to that data. You can't interact with me in the way that you previously had been able to. So that's the vision that I hope we get to. It's to be determined if we go in that direction.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like it's totally doable. And also, I think the problem right now is how to build that system. So as you mentioned, credential is really, really important layer. And there's a debate between is Soban token better or verifiable credential better. And I've been talking about this with Polygon ID's team for a really long time. They're using verifiable credential. So just give a little bit context about it. So just like Scott said, Soban token is just an NFT, but in your smart contract, you just said transaction 100% fail. So that prevent you to transfer your NFT. And since your NFT cannot be moved or transferred or deleted, it naturally become a credential for you. You can carry them in your wallet, right? But the problem is all the data for NFT is on chain. So people will bring question: what if I don't want somebody know my I don't want people to access my maybe address or maybe educational background. How can we do that? And so here comes verifiable credential. That is simply a credential that off-chain that some ZK zero knowledge proof company, they can actually do some processing, and then when people I was like Scott, I don't know your age, but I assume you 28 years old, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, you store that.
Better give her a big hug after this.
Yeah. You can just store that, but me as a bartender, I just want me to know that if you over 18 years old, right? So using verifiable credential, you don't have to reveal your age, but you send him a response that yes, I'm over 18 years old. So that's the best use case for verifiable credential. That is, you don't want to reveal your personal data, but you do want people to verify it. Yeah, but speaking of the Soban token, I feel definitely there's a certain use case for Soban token. For example, we all know Sample app, right? It's proof of attendance. So whenever you attend a meeting or you have a reputation, you want to show off, just you want to share on Twitter, and that kind of data you can actually carry on in your wallet as a Soban token, no problem. What do you think? You can fight against.
Yeah, I love the idea of it. I mean, it's I think we're a little ways away, or maybe a long ways away from making it so easy to use. And I think that's such a big piece of it. Is the idea is great, but how do we make it brain dead simple? Because if, especially today's consumer market, people are willing to give up uh, privacy, their data, in exchange for ease of use. And I'm guilty of it too. Amazon brings stuff to my house in a couple hours. So, okay, I'll just accept all to whatever their terms and conditions are. I don't care. Do whatever you want with my data. So we have to create solutions that are so easy to use for soulbound token, for decentralized identity, that it's not a burden on the consumer, but that's up to us. Like, we almost have to force it on the consumer and say, if you have two products that are equally easy to use, one of them says they protect your data, one of them doesn't, they're going to choose the one that protects your data. If the one that protects your data is 4% more difficult to use or requires 2 or 3 more steps, a lot of them are going to go with the other solution where they give up their data because people are lazy. People have short attention spans. It's the world we live in. So it's incumbent.
We're all lazy.
Yeah, it's incumbent on all of us, I think, to really put that work in and put that time in and have these conversations to make it as easy as possible and give people that option.
Yeah, just to piggyback on the example you gave about verifiable credentials, because I think this is important. When a woman goes to a bar and shows her ID, she needs to prove that she's over 21, right? In showing her ID, she's actually showing the bartender how old she actually is, where she lives, and a bunch of other information that the bartender did not need to know, right? Like that's like a low level example. And in society, we've been trained or almost required at some level to, provide data in order to access particular services. Like, we've all been to the doctor's office and we fill out all these forms. Like, there's a lot of information. It's like, why do they need to know that? Like, I coach youth baseball and they need to know where I work. Like, how is that relevant to like youth baseball? I have no idea. But we're trained to give up this information. And unfortunately, I don't think decentralized identities are the end all be all. I think there will be centralized authorities. I don't think the US government is going to relinquish the ability to issue a driver's license to something that's decentralized, or passports, or a host of other things. But there are sections of identity that we can carve out that are decentralized. And part of that is going to be our willingness to accept the authority, the issuance of something, someone, some entity as valid, right? If we're not willing to accept that maybe Identity DAO issued something that says, like, I have this particular skill set, well, then it's worthless. Your identity, the verifiable credential that you have, is implicitly tied to the entity that issues it. So right now, if you look at the incumbents that have all of this data, obviously we're all going to weight what a bank says, what a hospital says, over what maybe a Web3 entity says. So how can we change that? What areas can we claim as our own and build decentralized identity that way? Because we are at a significant disadvantage, but I think it's incredibly important that we figure out a way to carve out a niche and protect who we are in this next generation of the web.
And that's that's a great way to put it when you're talking about the ID with the bartender, and the bartender gets all this excess information that they don't need, but you give it away anyway because that's how you get a drink. And I think you were also talking about what we give away and why we give it away. So right now we just give all of our data away because we're trying to get this one thing. Well, I don't have a problem with the companies that build a social media platform or the Amazons that are, get the stuff to my house in a few hours. They should make money off of that. It's, it's a free market. They provide a service. They should get value for it. And if some of that value is your data, because, it's the old adage that if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And so if you're not paying for the social media site, you're going to give them a certain amount of data, but it's a matter of having that ability to tailor it. So right now, when we do something online, we give everything away. The browser history, everything we've said or done near our phone, it's all just given away. And if we can move to a place, and the same thing with like a government issuing these things. So I'm okay with the government issuing a passport, and I understand the need for laws and law and order, and keeping the peace and all things like that. But the government doesn't necessarily need to know everything. So in order to get a driver's license and be able to legally drive, in order to get a passport and be able to travel out of the country, this is the amount of data that I need to give, and I'm willing to give that so that I get this service in return. And that's, I think, to your point, where your decentralized identity, your soul-bound token, it's about ownership. It doesn't mean no one's going to have any of your data. It means that you get to decide who gets your data, what portion of your data they get, and then be able to revoke it if you want, or be able to, limit it to certain portions of your data. And it's complex. It's tough. It's a lot of questions, and we're gonna have to figure it out along the way, and we're gonna have to collaborate and figure out best practices and what works, what doesn't. But I think if we all keep our eyes on the prize, we can definitely get there.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree with like Scott, what will you Scott say? You said it's not really important. It's the most important thing is like who issued that like credential, right? So I feel like there's kind of situation right now is you see all the Web3 company, they're trying to build a credential platform. So they want to like they focusing on technical part and issue people like identity. But actually, to be honest, I can write a paper on like with all your personal data and give it to you. Is that your ID? No. So it's not really about the credential, but it's like, can the credential be verified by other part? Can it be accepted by the whole world? Can it be used? And yeah, I think that's the real question.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in there because I think let's tie this into AI because that's obviously everyone's talking about Chat GPT and Auto GPT now. Like, how do we know who's real? Like, if you're on Twitter and you're seeing someone reply and they have this whole persona, how do you know they're real, right? If there's a issuing authority that's centralized, that's issuing, passports and IDs and all these, verifiable credentials, okay, well, there's some level of persona to that person. But as I started this talk, I talked about those those less government issued pieces of my identity. I'm a baseball coach. I coach Little League baseball. I'm a wife. Like all these little pieces of your identity go into your persona, right? And I think at some point in the not so distant future, it's going to be very important to be able to identify who's real from who's not. Content is already being created right now that you have no way to tell whether that's authentic or that's AI created. At some point, there needs to be, and this is maybe where we win. This is where like the decentralized identity comes in. Those data points that we're able to gather in a decentralized way become important to us in the sense that we can tell who's an actual person, proof of humanity in the sense like this is a real person. And I think that might be the niche that we need to focus on.
And it's not just, it's not just the AI, the AI side, the Twitter bots and the hacker farms that just create these bots and bots and bots that post things on Twitter and Facebook, and these things determine what we think and what we do and where we go and who we vote for in some cases. And it's terrifying. And what if we can use these decentralized identity? These are the features that we offer that get people really excited about it. You can go on Twitter and determine if someone is a real human being that's posting. It's not a blue check mark that Twitter's responsible for. It is a trusted identity confirmation company or whatever it ends up being that can say, yes, these posts that are going out are actually from a human. Now I'm going to read it and I'm going to decide if I agree or disagree with it. It's a huge opportunity to sell it to the masses and tell people that why this is valuable. And I think, again, it's got to be brain dead simple, and it's got to be sold and packaged that way, that this is valuable to you. This is valuable to you when you were talking about going to the doctor's office. You go to a different doctor, you have to fill out the same 14 forms. This is my family's medical history. This is the surgeries I've had. This is the medications I'm on. Well, if you can securely tie that to your digital identity, then you go into a doctor's office and you say, I want to allow them to see XYZ pieces of information, and you're done. And it makes it easier. And all of a sudden you have a selling point for people to get on board with the decentralized identities.
Yeah, totally agree. I guess we just like 30-second list. So I feel like a lot of part of Web3 technology are working towards it. For example, we have domain name or wallet, or even like ID wallet. They trying to be carry the other credentials. We have like Soban token, verifiable credentials. We have like company do oracles, wanted to bring the off-chain data on-chain. So I feel like this is a really interesting field, and we could definitely bring a lot of like blockchain into more practical use case. For example, the DeFi, they ask over collateral for lending money, but actually they just need back check, like for your financial situation, right? So basically, I will say definitely we will working towards it, and I'm really excited to see where we at and what can we capable of.
And the only thing I would say to finish up is just keep having these conversations. Talk about it with your friends. Talk about, find panels where people are talking about these things, and keep trying to come up with ideas, and then build something. See if it works. Collaborate, work with other people, and figure out best practices, and take us to the promised land.
I guess I'll finish up by saying if you believe that central bank digital currencies are coming, digital identity is right behind it, if not with it. So it's coming quick.
Yeah. Okay, thank you guys.